10 Boys Who Didn't Give In and 10 Girls Who Didn't Give In. Inspiring Stories of Martyrs. Lightkeepers series by Irene Howat. Overview. These 10 boys grew up in hard times throughout history to become men who didn't give in to the pressure against their faith. Living as a Christian was difficult, but they chose to do the right thing instead of the easy thing. In a world where we were given too easily to be inspired by the true stories of those who didn't. These 10 girls grew up to become women who didn't give in. Living as Christians was difficult. They chose to do the right thing instead of the easy thing. Would you give in or would you resist? In a world where we give in too easily, be inspired by those who didn't. These women chose eternal life, love, and joy through obedience, hardship, and life-threatening and life-taking danger. Review. The second entry in the series is just as good as the first, although the subject matter may be a bit too much for younger readers. In this volume, 10 boys include Polycarp, Alban, Sir John Oldcastle, Thomas Cranmer, George Wishart, James Chalmers, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Nate Saint, Ivan Moslieved, and Graham Staines. It's probably best for young readers to read alongside a parent, as the subheading is not included on the book cover, but is listed online. The topics all cover people who were martyred and involve some details of death, cannibalism, and torture. Mind you, there isn't graphic descriptions, and I don't have a negative review about that, as I believe the stories like this are very important, but I think the warning is important. Either way, the series does capture people who are willing to die for their faith, and the questions at the end cover that fairly well. There are deeper conversations to be had within the people covered. The childhood stories don't flow into the climax of the story as much as the first book did, but the pattern is important for the narrative and invests young readers into. Another great entry in the series that allows for the conversation to take place for a number of people, including first world Christians, to get a sense of what holding to their faith sometimes requires. Those who desire to be missionaries and the mindset one might have, and those who support missionaries with prayer and money and what they might have to go through. This series really does a good job of showing us why church history is important to study and to learn from. Final grade, A. The second entry into the girls series is better than the first. For the give-in portion, the girls described are probably lesser known and written a little less violent than the boys' version, yet the impact of the story is still strong. In this volume, 10 girls include Belladina, Perpetua, Lady Jane Grey, Anna Askew, Lyskin Dirks, Marion Harvey, Margaret Wilson, Judith Werberg, Betty Stam, and Esther John. I caution the probable need for parents to read alongside their children with these stories, as they involve slightly graphic accounting, without details leading to grotesque details. These stories don't have as much, but parents should still caution depending on the age and maturity of the child. I'm still so impressed that the author can boil down a lot of history into 15 pages, while understanding that there isn't going to be full coverage on the topic. One of the best ones that had to be the hardest, but was probably the most enjoyable to read, was Lady Jane Grey. The focus on her story could have easily been lost in providing the history of wanting to include more detail or greater impact. The older stories taken from earlier histories of church history may cause some to be wanting, as details like coming to Christ or childhood specifics just aren't really known. The author also has the biggest slant towards the English side of martyrdom stories, as some involve multiple tales from the Scottish Covenanters and that era. That's neither a positive nor a negative. The balance and tie-ins from other eras of girls' life from the stories is a lot better done here than in The Girls Who Use Their Talents book. I thought really missed the mark. Another good installment in the series, and I would recommend a short snippet of church history that gives you a quick read on many people that you could take and read more on. Final grade, A-.